Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White. I'm your host, Charles King. The podcast tonight was originally scheduled, we were going to talk about finance. Well, we're going to change that until tomorrow. Tonight, this podcast is going to dive deep into issues surrounding race in our society. And today, we'll be exploring recent developments in the legal landscape that have significant implications for our justice system and the country as a whole. So, just to get started into this, primarily the things that we're going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about how impactful things from a legal perspective has a negative impact on different communities, some of the issues that are taking place that should not be taking place, but the effects in which they are having could be long-term effects. And the thing is, it's something that I want to address in order to get out to you, the public, or to the people in the underserved communities as to why it is so important that you take part in what happens here in this country, but also you learn about the things that's going to be really impactful on your community and how it could stunt your growth and keep you from becoming, the communities in which you want to become. Well, let's just start this thing off by with ongoing court cases involving former President Donald Trump. Over the past few months, we've witnessed several legal battles surrounding Mr. Trump's business practices, financial dealings, and potential misconduct during his time in office. These cases have sparked intense public interest and scrutiny, raising questions about accountability, transparency, and the rule of law. Now, when we talk about those cases, the cases that we're going to talk about is, for one, the case that's the one that has started, that is ongoing, is the case in New York alluding to the hush money case. Now, in this case, what has transpired is when the occupier, the people that most people call former President Trump, well, I call him the occupier. The occupier of the house, of the White House at that time, while he was running for the White House, they put out these lies and they did all of this hush, hush, hush situations that misled the public about the payments to the ex porn young lady Stormy Daniels. Now, the reason why that's important is because here in mainstream media, most of these outlets went along with this lie, and what this lie did was it definitely deceived the public that the folk that voted for this guy, I honestly believe that most of them would not have had they known that, supposedly, quote unquote, according to this, that well, actually, it's been talked about where this actually happened, where where this man actually paid this woman all of this money. But the way he paid the money is through his ex-attorney Michael Cohen, who has actually officially come out and told the whole entire story as to how it took place. Now, people don't want to believe that because Donald Trump has actually had the opportunity to tell one of his great lies, because everything he says is a lie. But he was able to tell one of these great lies that he had nothing to do with that. He paid Michael Cohen for services, and that was all there was to it. Now, Stormy Daniels has rebutted this, and she too has, they have the receipts to prove what has actually transpired. Well, now that they picked a jury in New York, this case is now ready to kick off. So now the thing is that not only does the lie cause a problem, but when you also think about it, um, and think about how this lie and with the sabotaging of Comey and the FBI on against Hillary Clinton, it actually afforded this this individual the opportunity of actually becoming the occupier of the White House. And I call him the occupier again is because this man was not a president. Because the only thing that he done is he just he did a tax break for those in the top 1%. Their lives were good. That's now over. And so now he's coming back and he's talking about he wants to do the same thing. Well, at any rate, this is one of the cases that's against him. And this hush money case is one that's a real serious problem. And I think we as Americans need to listen to this, need to accept this, and need to know that transparency is very much so important. Stop following the lies. Because if you're so easily deceived and you're so easily and quick to believe a lie, then what that tells you is that those that believe that, yeah, you have a moral problem. Yeah, I'm saying that. You have a moral problem. And the reason why you got a moral problem is because when you lie and you deceive people and you think that you can continue to do that, it always has a way of coming back. But that's not the only case. He's got the documents case down in Florida where he actually took documents from the presidency, from the White House that included secrets. Now, there, in accordance to the Espionage Act, there is some issues going on with that, but now the judge that's over the case, she herself, is finding herself in another serious pickle because the 11th Circuit is actually looking at all of the things that this woman has done, where she's basically trying to create this live break for this criminal in order to give him the opportunity that he's going to be able to roll around and say that he wants the case dismissed, and that's probably what she's trying to work on. But I think the 11th Circuit is going to have her removed before this could even happen, because there's no way this case is going to be dismissed. If this was any other American that had documents like this that they were trying to get off to other countries, to let them know what's going on in America. I mean, whatever the situation is, I mean, something was going to happen with these documents. And so, if you're talking about nuclear codes and you're talking about people that are doing work undercover in other countries for America, and you're talking about things that's got strategies that's dealing with the military, then you've put an enormous amount of people in harm's way. So that's what the Florida case is about. It's about documents. Now you got the case in DC, which is about the January 6th riot, where the insurrectionists that actually came up to the Capitol, stormed the Capitol, blatantly on TV, knowing that they were on camera, stating that they were there to hang Mike Pence, they were trying to kill Nancy Pelosi, they were trying to do anything what was necessary to keep the actual certification of the 2020 election from going into effect. Now, these insurrectionists which that's what most people are calling them, but I call them terrorists. Those terrorists that were out there creating this issue that they were causing all of this harm, chaos, and disorder. An enormous amount of them have gone, to jail, prison, whatever you want to call it. A lot of them have served time, some are still serving time, and some they still haven't gotten them all yet. My thing is that This case, again, is one that comes back to the occupier that won the White House in 2016. And so now he has one more big case that's against him that's here in Georgia for the fake electors and also trying to steal the election with the phone call to the Secretary of State telling him to fine him for more than 11,000 votes so he could win the state of Georgia. Now that call was recorded. You got folks that was a part of his staff, that includes the chief of staff, that actually made his way to Georgia to convince the Georgia Secretary of State to do what was necessary in order to have the occupier win the state of Georgia. So when he decided he would not do that, then they had the backlash where he too faced the consequences of terrorists attacking him and his family or threatening them at his house. Well, that same Secretary of State is the one that tried to make it difficult for folk here in the metro area of Atlanta to vote. Yeah, that's what he did. You know, he said he had nothing to do with what actually transpired, but he decided to come up with this to help with this bill that they passed here in Georgia. I think it was SB 200, if I'm not mistaken. And with SB 200, it stated clearly that they were going to make it difficult for people to vote, and in urban areas, well, shall we say in the areas where there are African Americans and Hispanics, they were going to make it difficult for them to actually vote by taking out voting machines, putting most of those people in one area to where they would be basically out all night trying to vote, but also outlawed that if people were in line, especially after the closing of the polls, you are not allowed to bring these people water. You're not allowed to bring these people anything to eat. If they've been out there all day, they just have to be out there. If they fall out, if they die, they just have to fall out and die. But they're not supposed to get any kind of nourishment or anything of that nature from anyone other than themselves. So that's one of the things. This man also, he's got lawsuits, investigations, and legal challenges against him as well. There was one that was, I think it's recently solved now, where he had what he called Trump University, which turned out to be a big scam. And you also had people to actually sue to get their money back. Well, that was a big class action lawsuit that he lost, but there's some other ramifications behind that that's still going on. So there's other remnants. And so he's still not over that. So he also has some legal challenges as to him even running for president here in 2024. Well, you know, it was clear in Colorado that he took part in the insurrection. That's what was determined by that state. And remember, states' rights is what's supposed to count. Well, in this case, according to the Supreme Court of the United States of America, Colorado was not allowed to take him off the ballot. Yeah, there's these other states also, including Illinois, that took him off the ballot. The Supreme Court says you cannot take him off the ballot. They say Donald Trump has to run for president. He has to have the opportunity to run for president despite his criminality. Yeah, I said that, despite his criminality. So you can be a criminal, if you look like him, you could be a criminal. You can commit as many felonies as possible. You can hold up the legal system and prevent the legal system from prosecuting you because your name is Donald Trump or you look like Donald Trump. Yeah, that's something else we'll be discussing because this legal situation here in America is a little bit out of control. This out of controlness is what's actually it's in my craw, and I just cannot let this pass by, because if we're not mentioning this, and if we're not on top of what is actually happening here, and realize that not only should you not put your vote in favor of this criminal, because you know he's a criminal, but you should think about what's your life going to be like if he's actually back in the White House. If you're anything other than a white person, your life is over. We've already reverted back, and they're trying to revert us back to the 1950s right now with the things that are happening. He's going to make it very easy because he's already said he'll be a tyrant on his first day of office, but he'll go back to being president after the first day. What does that tell you? How do you do that? That means that you can sit there and you can say what the law is, and it's because of what you say is the law is what the law is. You can dismiss all these criminal cases against you, the ones that do not take place, before you get in office, which I'm still wondering why would people even vote for him. But again, everybody don't have the same morals and values, and those that are low life miscreants will actually vote for him. I said that, miscreants. They're the misfits. That's what they are. Misfits voting for misfits. Anyway, to go along with that as well, the thing about these situations with this guy is that when we talk about Trump for president and the reputation that he has in his political future, they're all in jeopardy. Because I think with the 96 charges against him, 96 felony charges against him, combined with these 4 cases, there's no way he's supposed to be for president. There's no way he's supposed to be allowed to run for president. But they are allowing him to run for president because he's trying to run out the clock. He's getting that to his favor at this point. But the thing is if this was anybody else, you can rest assured that they would be well up under a jail or a prison, whichever you want to call it. There's no way they would have the opportunity to sit there and say, I want to be the leader of the free world, but I'm a criminal. What that's doing is you're seeing that the values of this country have turned upside down. Not that it's always been morally correct, but this is totally, totally flipped upside down. Totally. And so, with that being said, that is for those that feel like you don't like a candidate, you don't like a person, or whatever have you, and they can't get your vote, and you won't vote for them because of whatever your reason is. You're allowed to do that, and I respect that. But my thing is the effects of your vote for Donald Trump, especially if he wins for president, and you think it's okay to repress people like myself or people that look like me because they look like I do. Is that right? And you can sit there and you can, while you're looking at this podcast or you're looking at me right now, look me right here in my face. And I want you to be able to tell me point blank that you voting for Trump and Trump becoming president of the United States is beneficial for me. Tell me how is that going to benefit me? Because it's not. It's not going to benefit me at all. It's not going to benefit anyone that looks like me. What that means is the people that are casting votes for him are casting votes for slavery. That's what they're doing. That's what you are doing if that's you. And if you're casting those kind of votes, shame on you. How can you actually look people in the face and tell them this a lie that you didn't vote for Trump when you know you did? You can look at people in their face and you can laugh and you can say, oh, this is so sad, but you contributed to it. You know, contributory negligence in most cases of the law, gets you an accessory. An accessory means you're just as worse as the actual criminal. So those that are voting for him are accessories to criminality. They're accessory to all this law breaking that's happening right now to this day. And if you are a lawbreaker, you should be in jail. Folks can go and cast stones, and they can sit there and they can call other folks criminals when the real criminal is the person that's calling someone a criminal. So all y'all is out there running around looking at other people and saying, yep, that's a criminal, that's a criminal, that's a criminal. Look yourself in the face. Because I know that an enormous amount of people, the majority of the people that look like myself, ain't creating crime, ain't doing crime like that. We're not doing crime. Everybody know who the real criminals are, and they should be held accountable for that. So enough of this Donald Trump stuff, but I'm going to move on to this, to the Supreme Court. So shifting our focus to the Supreme Court, the highest judicial body in the land, we have seen a series of rulings that carry profound implications for our society. From decisions on voting rights and affirmative action to cases involving LGBTQ rights and reproductive freedoms, the Supreme Court plays a crucial role in the shaping the legal landscape and influencing the social progresses of this country. One recent ruling that garnered widespread attention was the decision on the controversial voting rights law that critics argue could disproportionately impact communities of color. The implications of such rulings on the principles of fairness, equality, and justice are significant, especially in the context of our ongoing national conversation on race relations. As we reflect on the broader justice system, it's crucial to consider the complexities and challenges embedded within. From issues of systemic bias and racial disparities in sentencing to the need for criminal justice reform and increased accountability within law enforcement, the pursuit of a fair and equitable system remains a pressing priority. So let's just break that down, okay? The Supreme Court has gotten to the point now that it's basically rewriting the Constitution right before your very eyes. Those that feel like on the conservative side that they rule the world and they are what the world is supposed to be means that they can control whatever happens to any individual, and they should have the right to tell you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. Now, these folks that got on the court, we know that they got there with all this dark money, as they call it. But let me just ask you this. If you want to talk about ethics, how is it that of the 9 justices, we know 6 of them are on the conservative side, okay? Half of that 6 has got major ethics violations. They have not reported any of the pay that they're getting from outside forces that are controlling the country, that are controlling the world. These people have actually made rulings that are so disparaging that there's no way an individual can honestly say that they're getting a fair shot in this country, because they're trying to revert us back to the 1950s, because when we went back to if we go back to the 1950s, there are no rights. So let's first start with what happened with the Voting Rights Act. The Supreme Court made this ruling on the Shelby County case in Alabama. Shelby County, Alabama started this whole thing about voting rights. The Supreme Court said that and upheld that they had the right to repress votes of people in that county. Those that have never been to Shelby County, Alabama, don't even ask if you haven't been there, because once you go there, then you'll know exactly what that's about. You'll know exactly what that's about. Shelby County is on the other side of Jefferson County, which is Birmingham. And if you've been there, then believe me, people know that that was unfair, and they know what that was about. So the thing is this. What is the problem with having people casting their votes, and it should be a fair count? What is the problem? The problem is that the majority is no longer white. So with white folk not being in the majority, but still holding on to as much power as they possibly can, you have to try to revert the country back. And going back for most of these folks mean taking it back to the 1950s. Because if you go back to the 1950s, there was no voting rights. Women didn't have any freedoms of controlling their bodies, which they've already overturned Roe v. Wade. This is crazy. But the Supreme Court, as they call it, the highest court in the land, and this is how they're rewriting the Constitution in front of your eyes. They're taking their time in making this ruling about this immunity, the immunity of Donald Trump, when it's clear that he does not have immunity. They could have did this a whole month ago, but they're like pushing this back because they're trying to keep this case from going to court. Now, I want to know who in the hell says that because he wants to run for president, that you're not allowed to take him to court? That's crazy. If that's the case, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. If you're a criminal, you should be able to stand up on your own 2 feet, go into that courtroom, and tell the judge why you should be free. Because I know most people and most judges would tell Donald Trump that that's not the case. But the ones that are afraid of him and his mob behavior, those are the ones that are like trying to cower down. Why are you cowarding down? You're cowarding down because you're trying to look at the world like this, like it's scales, and you want to say they're balanced when this is it's just easy to see that they're not. It's easy to see because there's no way that one man can go to court or be a part of the judicial system like this, and people are actually saying, "Oh, I feel so sorry for him and he deserves a break." He's a damn criminal. You say it about other folk, but you won't say it about him. Why? It's because he's what y'all consider one of the favored white children of the world. Just putting it blatant. I actually would love to have this debate with anyone out there that disagrees with me. Please contact me. Contact me because we need to have this spirited debate in front of everybody that watches this show, because people need to know who these people are, what they stand for, and why they should not associate with them. Because when people start doing these kind of things, believe me, when you get folks that are hiding with masks on their faces, and they are afraid to tell you who they are because they know they mean you no good, but they can sit there and look at you and tell you what you want to hear, but do what they really feel when they are comfortable around folks that are just like them. Now, take that to the bank, and I want you to think about that, because this is what the Supreme Court is doing as well. And these justices, they're not justices at all. These are paid political advocates, because they're damn sure not upholding the law. Because who in the world could say that it's okay to tell a woman that she can't control her body? Who can tell a woman that if she decides that she wants to sleep with a man and there's a mistake, and she wants to make sure that she's not pregnant, that she wants to take care of that situation, but she can't because they say that if you're pregnant, you got to have a baby? All of these men that are doing that, they're doing that because they are not, and I repeat, they are not in love with the women that they are with. They are never been childbearing. They can't be childbearing because they're not strong enough physically. And physically, if they had a child, one or the other would not exist. So they want to control somebody else's body, and they want to tell them what they can and cannot do. You got to be kidding me if you can sit there and you can tell a woman literally to her face that she's not allowed to have an abortion and she should never be allowed to have an abortion because this is just the way life is. Well, those of you that are following those them folks that they call themselves Christians, I think that's what they call themselves. Those are devils, because they're not only a supposed quote unquote Christians, but they're now in the political spectrum. So if they're in the political spectrum, that means that they're telling these folk that are sitting up here in Washington what they can and cannot do, and they're paying them a salary to make sure that they repress somebody's rights. So we're also going to be talking about, affirmative action and DEI. That's diversity, equity, and inclusion. They've already struck down affirmative action. DEI is next. After DEI, then it's most likely it's going to be LGBTQ rights. And so the only thing that the Democratic Congress could say is the rights of the LGBTQ community, but they couldn't say voting rights. They couldn't say voting rights. It's not important to have black and brown people vote, but it is okay to take care of the LGBTQ plus community. Now, all of us that identify as LGBTQ plus is understandable, because those rights, they're important as well, but they're not as important as everybody else's rights, because the majority of those that are being protected are those that look like those folks that are controlling the laws up on Capitol Hill. When you're black and brown, it does not include you. So that's like a catch-22. So again, those that are black and brown that's in the LGBTQ community needs to be looking at some things that they need to be pitching strong and hard to their folk that represent them, to let them know that they're not having that bull crap, because they're considered the less than or the smaller portion of that community. Is that right? No, it's not. But that's the way it works. So when they say they're taking rights away, they're not taking rights away from folk that are primarily white. No. But at any rate, We're also going to be talking about this misconduct, that's going on with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, you've got those like Thomas and Alito that's receiving all of these millions and millions and millions of dollars, to fund what they do, go on trips, being bought, buying houses, buying all kind of luxury items. Hey, I ain't mad at you. If you can do that, that's fine. But don't do that at the expense of my life. No, sir. Do that the way you want to, but don't do that at the expense of my life, because what that means is that you're selling me short and you don't even know me. The majority of the people around this country, you guys don't even know, but you care. As long as you can repress them, that's fine. It's the same thing that y'all did when you stuck your nose in the student loan situation. Every president has had an opportunity to do something about that, but this administration actually wanted to do something about it, and you guys went and you said that they couldn't do it, but now the programs that were already out there, hint, hint, I got to give this administration some credit, because they've come back now with the programs that are out there, and they just passed. They've now cleared the student debt of more than 277,000 people that's got student loan debt. So that's the equivalency of $7.4 billion. So you couldn't stop that because it's already in play. So now, as they keep funneling, as this administration keeps funneling more and more people through that, they're upset, because after that last situation here 2 weeks ago, you got 6 states, that includes Georgia, that says that they want to sue the Biden administration for its clearing of that 277,000 people, of that $7.4 billion in student debt. So you see, the thing is, they'd rather keep these young folk, or these people that's had this student debt for as long as they've had it. They can't pay it, but it's a problem for him to actually forgive the debt. It's not okay. Well, it's okay to give corporations billions and billions of dollars in welfare. They're getting all the money in welfare, so that's okay. I call it welfare because it's free money. But who cares? I mean, you earn your money to be a billionaire. Hey, that's fine and dandy. But you don't use that to repress me. How is that fair? So you should have more rights than I have because you got $1 billion. There's nothing logical about that. People, please wake up, because everybody's got to know that you got to do what you got to do. And as I spoke about the voting rights bill that was struck down with the Section 3 part of the Voting Rights Act by the Supreme Court, that was a major part of voting rights. So the thing is, if we're going to have voting rights for everyone in this country, Donald Trump cannot get his ass back in the White House. And I'm sick of folks running around here with this cruel lie about black men voting for Donald Trump. If they are, I'm not included in that. And I know millions of other black men are not included in that. Yeah, the Democrats are not as good as, or just as bad, shall I say, as a Republican, but at least they were saying that voting rights should be what it's supposed to be. I'd rather take my chance on that than I would with a Republican, because Republicans, they have those men, they don't have no stand-up whatsoever. They are afraid of that one man that wants to run for president, and they are afraid to call him out because apparently he's got some dirt on each and every last one of them. So the dirt he's got, they're never going to cross it because there's no telling what it may be. There's no telling. But I sure would like to know. Let him get the chance to expose it, because if he exposes it, believe me, I will expose it and exploit it here as much as I can here on this show. In recent years, Movements advocating for police reform, accountability, and dismantling of the institutional racism have gained momentum, underscoring the urgent need for transformative change within our justice system. The quest for racial justice, alongside efforts to combat inequality and promote inclusivity, lies at the heart of these critical discussions. As we navigate the intersection of race, law, and society, it's vital to engage in thoughtful dialogue, remain informed about legal developments, and advocate for a judicial system that upholds the values of fairness, equality, and justice for all. Together, we can strive towards a more just and inclusive society where every individual is treated with dignity and respect under the law. Now, what that means is, where we're going with this is, when we talk about police reform, we know that police reform is something that could be the most dangerous thing in the world. And what's dangerous about it is that you've got over-policing of Black folk and everybody else run free. So what that means is that with them being originally formed back in those 30s, 40s, whatever have you, and they were originally slave catchers before they came to what they call a police department now, is that their thing is always to repress and over-police Black and brown people, and to use the press to call them criminals. Okay? Where it's okay if I'm a drug addict and I'm using meth, I'm using powder cocaine, and I'm drinking and I'm driving, and I can have as many DUIs as I want to. As long as if I get stopped by the police and I'm white, nothing's going to happen to me. Nothing's going to happen. But if you're Black and you haven't done anything wrong and they feel like they want to stop you because they say they got probable cause could mean anything, right? But they know when they stop you, of course you run your tag. You run your tag, you know already if somebody's got insurance or not. You know if they've got a warrant or not. So what's your reason for stopping them? What's your reason for even running the tag? Because they're Black, that's why you're doing it, Black and brown. And so when they stop you and you tell them you know your rights, you can know your rights all day, but then they say that they come up with this lie about you attacked them or you was being out of sorts or whatever have you. And you tell them clearly, what are you stopping me for? You have a right to know that. They don't feel the need to tell you if you're Black or brown. They just feel like you're a criminal and you just know you have to get with the system. Well, that also leads to the shooting and killing of innocent people, because the people that are stopped, why are you stopping these people? Why are you stopping people in general? See, it's easy to stop somebody because you say you saw something when you didn't. It's all made up and it's fabricated. When it's fabricated in that manner, that means that when they say they stop you, you have no record, you haven't done anything wrong, but because they stop you and you ask that question, you're going to jail. And they're going to let you sit up there in that jail for maybe two days. 2 days for no reason. None whatsoever. But if I'm white and I got cocaine in my car, and if I'm an alcoholic and I'm driving and you stop me and I'm driving and I'm drunk, you let me go with a warning. That's the inequality in this system of policing. And they always say that all the crime is in the Black areas. Well, I think over these last few years, it's proven that that's not the case. It's proven that that's not the case. But the thing that makes this even worse is policemen that look like me make it even worse. Because What they do now in these police departments are they use those folk to control black folks by beating them to death and killing them. And it's called justified. Now, who should have to live their lives like that? Nobody. Nobody should have to live like that. When we seen that man put his knee on George Floyd's neck and choke the life out of him like that, that tells you just what the justice system think about black men or black people in general. Treat you as inhumane as possible, call themselves trying to humiliate you as worse as they can, and don't feel and there's no way you're gonna pay for it. I mean, Chauvin actually, when he got convicted, that was the shock around the whole damn world, not just in the state of Minnesota, but the whole world. This has been happening forever and a day, and it's still going on. And right now, you got policemen that are still killing black men or black women, and just doing all kind of roughshod stuff. But they don't have to worry about it because the jury is all white, and the jury says, "Oh, the police protect us. The police protect us." Yeah, they protect you. They don't protect black folk. They don't protect brown folk. Call that out. But it's written, in the judicial system that you're not going to ever have a majority jury that a jury of your peers that look like you if you look like me. That jury, if it's a 12-panel jury, is guaranteed that at least 8 of the people on that jury is going to be white. Now tell me, where's that fair? Because they're not my peers. And if they're not my peers, do you honestly think that they are going to say, okay, well, he's innocent, he was right? No, they're not going to say that. They're going to say, yes, he's a criminal. And I know exactly how that works when you get in one of those jury rooms, because when you sit there and you discuss, I'll just tell you, you have people instantaneously jumping to guilty. That's a fact. And I can raise my right hand on that. So, at any rate, I just want you guys to know one thing. We must recognize the importance of civic engagement and participation in our legal system. From serving on juries to advocating for policy changes, each of us has a role to play in shaping the future of our justice system. By staying informed, holding our leaders accountable, and actively supporting initiatives that promote fairness and equality, we can contribute to a more just society for generations to come in our collective pursuit of a more equitable and inclusive America. Let us remember that the work of justice is ongoing and requires our dedication and commitment. It is through dialogue, education, and activism that we can address the systemic challenges within our legal institutions and advance towards a society where everybody is truly equal under the law. As we continue to navigate the complexities of race, law, and justice, let us remain steadfast in our efforts to promote transparency, integrity, and accountability within our legal system. Together, we can build a more just, compassionate, and equitable society where the principles of fairness and equity and equality guide our collective journey forward. Remember, the struggle for justice and equality is a journey that requires collective action and unwavering perseverance. By elevating these conversations, examining legal rulings, and advocating for a fair, unbiased justice system, we can move closer to a society where the rights and dignity of all individuals are upheld and protected. This is what the Constitution is supposed to do. But thank you, Supreme Court, because you're changing that. As we navigate the complexities of our legal judicial systems, let us acknowledge the impact of these institutions on marginalized communities, and commit to dismantling systemic barriers that perpetuate inequality. Through education, advocacy, and civic engagement, we can drive meaningful change and foster a more inclusive society that reflects the values of equity and justice for all. In the coming weeks and months, let us remain vigilant in our pursuit of a more just society where the principles of fairness and equality stand as pillars of our legal framework. Together, through dialogue, action, and a shared commitment to progress, we can create a more equitable future that honors the rights and dignity of every individual. Thank you for joining us on this episode of America in Black and White. Your engagement and dedication to these vital issues are instrumental in shaping a more just and inclusive society. Until next time, let us continue to strive for equality, justice, and unity in our shared journey towards a brighter future for all. Reflecting on the intricate tapestry of our legal system, it becomes evident that the pursuit of justice is interwoven with the broader fabric of social values and norms. As we navigate the complexities of race relations, legal proceedings, and judicial decisions, let us maintain a steadfast commitment to upholding principles of fairness, equity, and accountability. In our quest for a more equitable future, it is essential to amplify marginalized voices, challenge systemic injustices, and advocate for policies to ensure equal treatment and rights for all individuals, regardless of race or background. By standing together in the fight for justice, we can drive meaningful reform and create a legal landscape that reflects the diversity and dignity of our society. Thank you for being a part of this crucial conversation on America in Black and White. Your dedication to exploring these critical issues and advocating for a more just society is integral to the progress we seek. Until we meet again, let's continue championing equally, advancing justice, and striving towards a future where every individual is seen, heard, and valued. I thank you all for your time tonight, and I thank you all for listening to this wonderful and full episode of America in Black and White. We will see you tomorrow where we will be discussing finance. Thank you all again and have an excellent day.